Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talk More Talk. I'm Joe Mayo, and you may know me from my YouTube channel, Mean Mr. Mayo, and a new show that I'm doing called Fab Gab. That's available on Mean Mr. Mayo. You can always see that. And we've got a good show tonight here on Talk More Talk, which is a solo Beatles video cast. And we talk mostly about the solo Beatles sometimes, depending on what new releases and projects are up. We talk about the Beatles as a group. And I'm here, as always, with my three co hosts, and I'll introduce them right now. First of all, we have the queen of all backdrops, because that is a gorgeous sky there. It looks fantastic for the Cloud Nine album. You've done it again, and outdone yourself since the last show. Every show you do another mind blower. So anyway, you know her from her books that she's done, songs we were singing, guided tours through the Beatles' lesser known tracks, and also Michael Jackson FAQ. So everyone, please bow to the Queen, Kid O'Toole.
My goodness. Hello, everybody. Yes, it's nice floating in the atmosphere tonight. It feels so good. It does. So hello, everybody, and hello, everyone who's watching live tonight, and those who are watching the replay. And I think this is going to be a really fun show tonight.
Really good shoe.
Yes, indeed.
We have the host of a Paul McCartney video cast, Two Legs. He always does it with his pal Andy Nichols, and recently he's been doing a lot of shows every Wednesday where he's ranking Paul McCartney songs on the albums, album by album, Andy and Tom together. It's kind of given me the idea to do it on Fab Gab, and that's also what's given us an idea to do it here tonight. Welcome, everyone. Tom Hunyadi. Hi, Tom.
Hey, well, I'll tell you what. Today I'm doing all right, but last week I was in rough shape, I'll tell you. I went to the dentist. I told him my teeth are turning yellow. He told me to get a brown necktie. Let me tell you, I can't win. Let me tell you.
Watching too much Rodney, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's great to be back with my Beatle buddies, and every other Monday it's a fun night. I tell you, I can't. Great joy to do this with you guys.
Great. And then my doctor told me you're going crazy. I said, if you don't mind, I'd like a second opinion. He said, all right, you're ugly too.
That's
right. I'm going to lie on this couch face down, okay? Anyway.
You're going to do dueling Rodneys tonight?
Yeah, why not?
The honeymooners isn't enough. We're going to do Rodney.
Right.
All right. Now, last but not least, we're talking about our longtime Beatles authority who's been in the radio biz for nearly 40 years. And he's one of the hosts of the Things We Said Today podcast. And he's got a syndicated radio show called Every Little Thing. I'm talking about none other than Ken Michaels. Welcome, Ken.
Hi, Joe. Hi, guys and gal. And we are always on Cloud 9 to do the show. You guys watching.
Oh,
nicely played.
Nice.
I'm very curious
to
see how we make out with this show. We're going to be talking about the George Harrison 1987 album Cloud 9, specifically ranking the songs if we can, because it's not going to be an easy task. And I'm really curious to hear Ken, because I know Ken also loves this album, and I want to hear how he's able, as I'm almost unable, to try to figure out how to get these songs in some kind of an order. And that's going to be fun. So
it's not easy.
No. And before we get to it, I know that Ken, as always, has a nice slew of news to grace us with. So, Ken, do what you do best.
Okay. Well, thank you, Joe. First news item, and it's now official. You know, there's so much news in the last 2 weeks, and we've heard about it for 2 weeks that it seems old. But April 16th is the date for the Super Deluxe box set for the Plastic Ono Band. And actually, if you go to johnlennon.com, it gives you all the information that you need. But for those of you who are curious, this deluxe box set will have 6 CDs, 102 new stereo mixes. They say over 6 hours of audio, plus 2 Blu-ray audio discs, 159 new stereo mixes over 11 hours in high resolution, 192/24 stereo. It's also in 5.1 surround sound and Dolby Atmos mixes. It also includes a 132-page hardback book with rare photos, memorabilia, and extensive notes. Also, a War is Over poster and 2 postcards. And it's also going to be available as a double CD, single CD, a double LP, and for download and streaming. This entire package, the music is completely remixed from the original masters, and it also includes ultimate mixes, outtakes, elements, raw studio and evolution mixes, and demos, jams, and Yoko Ono live sessions. That's a lot of stuff.
It's amazing how much stuff they crammed on this set.
I know. And there's quite a lot that's on the Blu-ray that's not on the 6 CDs.
Right.
And the list price for this is $135.84. And again, the release date, April 16th. Mark it down. No doubt we'll be doing a show on that as soon as we can absorb all that, that music.
Give us a little time. We need to go through this.
I think the most important thing is that it looks like the package is the same size as the last 2 packages, so it's going to look great on the shelf, everybody. So that's.
Yes.
Well,
Tom and Joe really like continuity.
I love it. Uniformity, baby. Everything's got to be uniform.
That's right.
It's how it looks that's more important than the music, I guess. But I'm sure this is going to be just as good as the Imagine box set.
Absolutely.
Maybe even more. We'll see. Anyway, again, this seems like a long time ago we heard about this, but making the news in a big way is a forthcoming book from Paul McCartney and editor Paul Muldoon called The Lyrics 1956 to the Present. In its press release, Paul McCartney is quoted as saying, "More often than I can count, I've been asked if I would write an autobiography, but the time has never been right. The one thing I've always managed to do, whether at home or on the road, is to write new songs. I know that some people, when they get to a certain age, like to go to a diary to recall day-to-day events from the past, but I have no such notebooks. What I do have are my songs, hundreds of them, which I've learned serve much the same purpose. And these songs span my entire life." And the press release goes on to say that this extraordinary book has Paul recounting his life and art through the prism of 154 songs from all stages of his career. Goes from his earliest boyhood compositions, I guess I Lost My Little Girl is going to be in there, through the legendary decade of the Beatles to Wings and his solo albums to the present, arranged alphabetically to provide a kaleidoscopic rather than chronological account. That's not easy to say. It establishes definitive texts of the song's lyrics for the first time and describes the circumstances in which they were written, the people also and the places that inspired them, and what he thinks of these songs now. It's a treasure trove of material from McCartney's personal archive. It includes drafts, letters, photographs, never seen before, which make this also a unique visual record of one of the greatest songwriters of all time. It is due out November 2nd, looks to be a 2-volume book put in a slipcase. Each book has approximately 480 pages. So you combine it, it's almost 1,000 pages in this. Amazon US is now taking pre-orders and asking $100 for it. Amazon UK is asking £66. And so really interesting, this coming out the end of the year. And you guys have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's going to be stories that we've heard plenty of times, but we don't need to look at those. I mean, like you said, Ken, 154 songs. I think there's going to be plenty in there for the beginner, the hardcore, and the person in between, you know. So I think it's going to be a well-worthy project for the McCartney canon or fan, whatever you want to call it. So I think I look forward to it. Absolutely.
And there are so many pages in there. I'm thinking that there might be, napkins he's written on, notes and things like that, in addition to just talking about them too, which he always has done. He's always provided a lot of that stuff for a lot of his songs. Of course, he's got so many. I don't know the accurate number, but I thought I heard along the lines of 400 in the 400s. So it's not all this.
Be a lot more than that.
No, it's got to be more than that.
It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem it.
No,
but it seems like there could be more. But certainly, it's not all his songs, but I'm interested which ones he's going to pick, and hopefully it'll be some that we're not expecting.
Right.
You know.
Me too.
We've got a friendly little wager, Andy and I, on the Two Legs Show, where Andy, we have an over under with how many Beatles songs are going to be inside the book, and Andy set it at 80. He's going over. I'm going under on that.
Yeah, and I agree that I hope that there's going to be a mixture, because I mean, we all know the yesterday story and some of those stories, but yeah, I hope that he will put in some lesser known album tracks,
Magneto and Titanium Man,
that like that.
Hey.
Hey, I like that one.
Sure, something like that, but maybe some other ones as well, and but songs that don't get as much attention, and here's some of the stories behind those. So I hope that there will be enough for, as you said, Tom, the casual, the hardcore fan, the fan, and somewhere in between, and because I would love to hear some of the stories behind some of the lesser known, and but yeah, I mean, as you said, there's so many songs to choose from.
Right.
I mean, gosh, I mean, I can't imagine.
And does he remember a lot of these? Some of them he might not even remember. The more obscure ones.
Yeah.
Well, the ones he's going to write about will have to be the ones that he remembers.
Right.
So, right. Yeah. The ones that stick out. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
I hope this is going to be a very balanced look at his career, and not very dominated by the Beatles, as great as that catalog is. And, there's also songs he wrote for other artists too. Yeah. Will that be represented in here? And like you said, I'd like to see more of the obscure stuff put in there as well. I've often said that 80% of the Beatles catalog is their solo catalog. So, I hope that this book is something, at least, I'd like to see the solo catalog be at least half of this book.
Oh, absolutely.
It should be a lot more. It should be a lot more, really. Agreed. But we'll see.
Well, and Ken, when you mentioned I lost my little girl, and we were kind of chuckling. Yeah. Actually, that's another thing I'd like to see is, even him reflecting on his growth as a songwriter. Right. I mean, because, that was, we kind of, and he too kind of chuckles at it, but yeah, that'd be another thing I'd like to see him reflect on, and he can talk about that in the songs as well, as, were there certain songs where he, as he wrote them, he thought, wow, this is where I felt that I really grew, as a songwriter. Like, this is a song, this song I thought, okay, I'm really, I felt like I really, I've grown in some kind of way. I'd love to see that too.
Yeah. And I would love to see, because I heard that there's supposed to be some comments from Stevie Wonder in there, and Elvis Costello and Kanye West, if they have something to say about writing with Paul.
Right.
Perfect.
Be very interesting. But we shall see.
At near 1,000 pages, you got to think, I mean, each song is going to be well represented. I mean, it's going to be well thought, well written, a couple pages at least on every song. So, I mean, it's just doesn't sound like it's just going to be like a quick, page on a song. It looks like it's going to be a couple pages per song, which would be nice. If there's a good story, around, surrounding each song, then I think that's going to be a good read.
Yeah. And, handwritten lyrics, which I eat up. I love that stuff. We've been treated to a lot of that through his archival box sets too. So, but yeah.
And I mean,
all these other trinkets that'll, exactly. All right. Other news, Steve Marinucci's Beatle News and Information page is reporting that Paul and Ringo will be appearing on a virtual Grammy Award benefit show. Now, every year, a few days before the Grammy Awards, the Royal Academy's Music Cares hosts a star-studded invitation-only benefit gala saluting its Person of the Year. But this year, because of the pandemic, it's been replaced by a virtual benefit called Music on a Mission, which will be a ticketed event that anyone can enjoy. The fundraiser will be held this Friday, March the 12th, 2 days before the Grammy ceremonies, and will feature special appearances from Paul, Ringo, Lionel Richie, Carole King, Mick Fleetwood, and other artists, as well as live and archival performances. Tickets are $25 and can be purchased at musicares.org. And since it began, Musicares has distributed more than $22 million to help more than 25,000 industry people, from songwriters, musicians, and engineers to bus drivers, guitar techs, record label employees, and more. This year's Grammy Awards takes place this Sunday, March the 14th in Los Angeles, and it will air on CBS. Speaking of the Grammys, Rolling Stone is reporting that this month of March, the Grammy Museum will be featuring a virtual Ringo Star program. It's a virtual exhibit and interviews with Ringo. It actually started on March the 4th. The museum will release an interview with Ringo from 2010 from their Live from the Vault series, and that will be followed by a new interview with the museum's founding executive director, Bob Santelli, on March the 18th. Ringo will discuss his upcoming EP, Zoom In, and his new book, Ringo Rocks, 30 Years of the All-Stars, 1989 to 2019. In addition, the museum will feature the 2013 exhibit, Peace and Love, virtually. It covers his early life in Liverpool, his launch to superstardom with the Beatles, and his years with his all-star band. The museum's streaming service is called Collection Live, and it can be accessed at watch.grammymuseum.org. And a reminder that Ringo's new EP, Zoom In, comes in March the 19th. By the way, since we mentioned Paul before, I neglected to mention, and there have been all these rumors about this, and you guys have all heard about this, that there's a new album coming out of cover versions of the McCartney 3 album. And I've heard that some people have gone on Spotify, they wanted to hear a certain song from McCartney 3, and it's a cover that they're hearing. So I've seen a track listing for this already. It's not been made official yet, but we shall see. It certainly looks like it's pretty close to reality, this thing.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, they're issuing out dice again like they did, before McCartney 3 came out, so, with all the names of the people that are on this record. So, and I guess looks like I'm going to be fortunate enough to get one of these dice tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to checking that out and posting pictures about it. But yeah, I mean, it's got me more, now getting these dice, it actually has me excited about, listening to this album now, so.
New interpretations of new songs.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it, actually. I think it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind if people are asking already. They're saying, "Oh, you're going to get it? Oh, this is ridiculous." Everybody has a different opinion. I'm interested because I like the songs on it. I like the songs on this album.
Yeah,
so I'm interested in hearing it. Where maybe another time I'd be not so much, but this one I'm interested.
Beck doing "Find My Way" is blowing my mind right now.
I know. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Well, there used to be a time when I first started out when I didn't care about cover versions. Now I love them. I'm really curious about, especially new artists today, interpreting the Beatles music, the group, and the solo music. But as soon as we get an official word, we will pass that along. Yep. Now, let me bring up this book. This could have been the #1 news item here tonight. This is a brand new book that has just come out called Fandom and the Beatles. Just got it in the mail. Authors Ken Womack and Kid O'Toole.
Wow.
And I know that, most of you watching this show in your Beatle room, you have one shelf just reserved for Ken's books and one shelf just for Kit's. You have to get one for each shelf now.
Right.
This book is now available on softcover, which I have here, on hardback, and it's also on Kindle. And hopefully we'll get Ken on. I'd love to get Ken on and you guys talking about this book.
Yes, we will definitely do that. We will, we'll talk about that after the show. But yes, we will be doing a show on that, absolutely. And thank you for the plug. Yeah, very excited about it. It's a product of 2 or 3 years of work, and so we're glad it's finally out. So thank you, Ken.
So it looks like Ken's getting you on that no sleep. It looks like Ken's getting you on that no sleep schedule as well, huh, Ken?
Yeah, exactly.
We're all on a no sleep schedule here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Now, in our last show, I mentioned that the great husband and wife duo of Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. have just covered the Paul McCartney and Wings classic, Silly Love Songs, but didn't know more about it. Well, the two of them were on the CBS Morning News last weekend, and it was revealed that they just made a new album of all songs written by Lennon and McCartney called Blackbird, Lennon and McCartney Icons. It will be 10 songs, 8 of which are Beatles songs, 1 solo Lennon song, just like Starting Over, and Paul's Silly Love Songs. Amazon says it will be coming out April the 30th, and I now see on Amazon you can pre-order the CD. You can also buy individual songs as MP3s. Okay?
Cool.
I'm looking forward to that because I think they're both sensational. Right. Their voices are so strong to this day. Anyway, our friend Jeff Slate has just released a cover version of the Traveling Wilburys Handled with Care with his band, The Weekend Wilburys, and it's available now for purchase. A video can now be found on YouTube. And the group The Gold Needles have just released a new album called What's Tomorrow Ever Done for You, in which they cover George Harrison's If I Needed Someone. And a new video for their cover is now on YouTube. Okay. Some passings that I have to mention here. We mourn the passing of Chris Barber. Chris was a British trad jazz band leader, and he died at the age of 90. Chris was a trombonist, a double bassist and band leader, and he influenced the path of mid-century pop. He was born in Hertfordshire, taught music at London's Guildhall School, and was a champion of trad jazz, the raucous New Orleans style that had waned by the early 1950s as bebop became more fashionable. He helped to reignite the style's popularity and also became known as one of the 3 Bs, along with Kenny Ball and Akerbilk, who also separately revived trad jazz. Barber's biggest hit in the UK was the instrumental Petite Fleur, which went to number 3 on their charts in 1959. And it was no stranger to us here in America, where it peaked at number 5 that year. And Barber also collaborated with Lonnie Donegan and played double bass on the classic Rock Island Line. But his biggest connection to the Beatles came from a song that Paul McCartney wrote, an instrumental originally titled Cat's Walk, which was retitled Cat Call. And Barber and his band recorded the song at Chapel Studios in London on July 20th, 1967. And Paul was there for the session, acting as a cat caller and doing a woohoo on the record, a little more than 2 minutes in. This recording was later released on a compilation, some of you may have, the songs Lennon McCartney gave away in 1979 that came out. And there's actually a bootleg recording of the Beatles doing Cat's Walk at the Cavern Club, and it's about 1 minute and 30 seconds long. Give yourself an education. If you never heard this song before, go on YouTube. You can hear the Beatles recording of Cat's Walk. You can hear Chris Barber's recording of Cat Call. Great instrumental. Really good. Also, we also mentioned the passing of Bhaskar Menon, the legendary head for EMI and Capitol Records. He oversaw the releases of the Beatles, solo Beatles music, Rolling Stones, Queen, David Bowie, Bob Seger, Steve Miller, Tina Turner, and others. And he's responsible for the success of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which elevated the group to superstar status. The Hollywood Reporter told of Bhaskar helping bring a 2-track recording machine to Bombay to help George Harrison record Wonderwall music. He only had a mono machine over there at EMI Studios in Bombay. He worked for EMI for 34 years, and he died at the age of 86. Don't know if you guys recall this. When we had Dave Morell on, he mentioned Bhaskar because there was a party in New York for Press to Play, and Paul was there, and Dave was there, and Bhaskar was there. They were all together. And with Bhaskar standing next to them,
Bhaskar line, yep.
Yeah,
I remember now.
Right. You got the name wrong.
Paul asked Dave, "What's your favorite song from Press to Play?" And with Bhaskar standing next to him, he said, "Move over, Bhaskar." And Bhaskar didn't get it. Yeah. But Paul was cool about it.
Yep.
Instead of move over, Bhaskar. So, yeah, Bhaskar Menon has passed away at the age of 86. And finally, I have to mention the passing of Zach Nilsson. Zach Nilsson was Harry Nilsson's first child, and this was through his second marriage. He was a really sweet, down-to-earth guy. I had a chance to interview him a few years ago. It's on my website, by the way. And I talked to him about his life with Harry, what Harry was like, any Beatles stories that he can relate to us. And he was just a wonderful person. He had colon cancer the last couple of years, and it was stage 4 when he was diagnosed. It was a terrible thing he went through. He had 5 tumors, and they can only remove 2 of them. One of them was inoperable. He went through a lot of pain. He shared that very bravely online with videos. He had these cancerokies, as he called them. He sang along to songs, and often he played drums to them. He's very good as a drummer, and actually very good as a singer too. There are times you'd listen to his voice and it might remind you of Harry. And also his face resembled Harry quite a lot, especially in the eyes. I feel very privileged that I had the chance to interview him, as well as his brother Kifo, because Kifo's on the Harry Nilsson album that came out last year, right. Lost and Found. And both those interviews are on my website together on the same page. And you might remember my talking about this when he was first diagnosed. And through a friend of mine, Stephen Kalinich, who's a great poet and a songwriter, who's best known for writing with the Beach Boys. He wrote a couple of songs with Dennis Wilson, and he wrote the song A Friend Like You, A Friend Like You with Brian Wilson, which was a duet that Brian did with Paul McCartney. And Stephen reached out to Paul about Zach, told him what was going on, and Paul wrote Zach a really nice letter, and it was shown online just to lift his spirits up while he was going through this and telling him how much he loved his father. Really sweet thing for Paul to do. So, but yeah, it's very sad what happened to Zach, and I admire him greatly. He's one of those people I wish I knew better. I only had the chance to actually speak to him once, but I wrote to him a few times on Facebook, and he will be missed.
You know how old he was?
50. Okay. He just turned 50.
Wow.
Way too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get the Point Blu-ray or DVD, one of the special features is, the two brothers, playing, I think it was the music of the Point, I think.
Right.
Yeah. And,
wow.
You can see how close they were. I mean, the chemistry between them two while on stage was really nice to see. So, if you're interested in that, check out that Blu-ray or DVD.
Yeah, they did that online last year as well.
Yeah.
It was Kifo on the piano doing the singing, and Zach did the narration, like what Ringo did.
Right.
Oh,
so
wow.
it was great to see the two of them together. But Zach, you will be missed. By the way, I just want to say this because I know I mentioned this when I interviewed him. A lot of people probably thought this, but I asked Zach the question, will you name Zach because of Zach Starkey? And he didn't really know the answer. He said, a lot of people have asked me that. But I would tend to think so, considering how close Ringo and Zach were. If you listen to the interview that I did with Zach on my website, he tells a few Beatles stories, including when he met George Harrison.
Wow.
Which actually happened when The Fisher King came out as a movie.
Right.
And Harry went to London to do a song, How About You, the standard. I love a Gershwin tune, How About You?
Oh, yeah.
He did that song, and while he was in London, they went over to George's house, and Harry and Zach hung out with George and Danny. So that story's there in my interview.
Oh, I bet that was amazing for him. I mean, all of them were very vocal about Harry when Harry first came out on the scene, with everybody's talking, and they all loved him, said that it was, his favorite band, their favorite musician. Favorite group. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
in fact, there's a t-shirt, maybe Zach wore it or Kifo, Harry's our favorite group or whatever.
There you go.
Something to be proud of,
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's all the news I have.
Okay. Thank you, Ken. And we're ready to go to our main topic, folks. And I want to start by talking about Cloud9 being released on November the 2nd of 1987. Now, it was considered George's comeback album. I agree with that. I mean, that's arguable. I think that he had been out of the scene for 5 years or so, as far as albums go, since Gone Troppo in '82. And Gone Troppo was kind of an invisible album in a lot of ways. People really didn't know it was there. He didn't publicize it much. And somewhere in England the year before in '81 wasn't much more pronounced out there, except for, I mean, the hit single all those years ago. So this was, I think it was kind of a comeback album. And I really was so happy that it was so successful at the time for George's sake too. I'm glad he had a hit. I'm glad he wound up getting a #1 out of it. That was terrific. And I like Jeff Lynne's production on this. Now, from my experience, some people love it. Some people are not too wild about Jeff Lynne. I just thought before we just get going, just a brief idea from maybe the three of you, what you think of the album overall. Kit, why don't we start with you on that?
Well, this, has very fond memories for me. I was in high school when this came out, probably a sophomore, and was a Beatles fan then, and this was really the album that converted my friends too. Got My Mind Set on You became such a huge hit, and converted so many, my fellow 16, 17-year-olds who were kind of like, who's this guy? I of course knew him, but it was just such a, and it still is, listening to it now, it's on the whole, kind of in some ways a joyful album, although in some ways when you listen to some of the lyrics, he was definitely responding to his critics, at the time. You definitely hear that.
What else is new?
Yeah, exactly. But what else is new? That's right. But he really, he just sounds so rejuvenated. After the bitterness around Gone Troppo and that kind of thing. And when you hear this now, you just really hear how creatively inspired he was. As far as the Jeff Lynne production, yes, it definitely, it's got Jeff Lynne's fingerprints all over it. And I remember for years, maybe not right at the time, but for years I kind of thought, you immediately hear it and you just think, Jeff Lynne, and you can hear ELO touches all over the place, but it bothers me less now. I really, it now listening to it, I appreciate more of his production. I appreciate his production style a lot more, and see how it complemented George. It really, again, just George just sounds so comfortable. His voice never sounded better on this album.
I was going to mention that. I love the way George sounds on here.
Exactly. Really, when you listen to it, I thought, listening to it again, because I thought, God, I'd forgotten how good he sounded. His voice just, and so, it's just great. This album really stands the test of time. No question.
I'll go as far to say, controversially maybe, that I think that in some ways Jeff Lynne saved George's solo career at this point in his career. That's what I thought at the time, anyway. Yeah. Okay, what do you think, Tom, about the album?
Well, I'll tell you what, 86 was probably the start of me getting into the Beatles, 13-year-old me, and then 14 next year, 14, George Harrison. I couldn't have been happier. This album was just, I had a smile on my face. It's the first solo record I bought with my own money, so there's a lot of sentimental, a lot of nostalgia with this album. And I'll tell you what, if I was 14, if this album came out in 77 and I was 14 years old, I would have known who Jeff Lynne was. In 87, I had no clue who the hell Jeff Lynne was. ELO was nothing at that point in time. So a Jeff Lynne production to me in 87. What the hell was that? I listened to the album. I loved the album. Didn't care who produced it. It sounded great to me. Still does sound great to me. so it didn't really matter to me who produced it. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of great feelings listening to this album again over the last week or so, and brought back a lot of great memories. Being, really the only person appreciating this album in my school, because again, you've got the hair metal thing, you've got the the girl band. I mean, you got the boy bands. I mean, you got all these different genres of music coming in, and all of a sudden here's this elder statesman from the 60s, and now he's number one, showing
got
all
my
these
mind set on you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Not the album, but the
well,
single,
I mean, with Got My Mind Set on You, showing all of these younger kids how it's done. I mean,
on MTV.
On MTV.
Right.
I kind of like the second video better than the first video, because it put George Harrison front and center, with him sitting in the chair and everything like that. I didn't really care for the first video.
Yeah, I mentioned this before, though. I think that the one with the arcade probably interested some of the younger viewers too. I think that might have worked for them, in my opinion. Ken, what do you think?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I love the album instantly. I mean, it reminded me in so many ways. John Lennon took 5 years off in between rock and roll and Double Fantasy, and I was so thrilled when Double Fantasy first came out just to hold anything new from John Lennon. It was the same thing with George, because it was a 5-year absence, although he did release a single with I Don't Want to Do It in between, and he also did the Carl Perkins special, which was really sensational.
And you have to see that. You have to see that if you haven't seen it.
Awesome.
He lit up like a Christmas tree around Carl Perkins. It's just a wonderful concert. But I love all the songs on here. I kind of equate this album with a much more commercial effort, like 33 1/3 was, and 33 1/3 had some top 40 singles in there with this song and Cracker Box Palace, but it showed George's sense of humor. It wasn't all very serious. So when you're watching Got My Mind Set on You, the video, and there's this guy who obviously is not George doing a somersault.
That was awesome.
Very Monty Python-esque that video is for me for that reason. That kind of thing. And also not being afraid to visit the Beatle past with when he was Fab and how great that video was.
Yes,
it showed a sense of humor, much like he did with Cracker Box Palace in 33 1/3. So, but at the same time, I'm not going to say that this is so far superior to a lot of other albums that he made that were not as commercial. And I especially love the serious spiritual side of George Harrison. I've said many times, Living in the Material World is my favorite album from any artist, even more than the Beatles.
When did that happen? When did you come to realize that?
1973 hit me so hard with all the solo music of that year, but as years went on, I always kept going back to Living in the Material World and hearing songs like, The Light That Has Lighted the World and Who Can See It. And those songs touch me more than just most of George's catalog. But at the same time, I love all the different sides of George Harrison. And Jeff Lynne deserves a ton of credit. I have never, ever disliked Jeff Lynne's production work. And if anything, he brought new life to George's music and, more of a spark to it. And it did sound, at the time, extremely contemporary. And as much as I hate bringing up whether sounds are dated, I don't even care about that anymore. But I could listen to Cloud Nine now and enjoy it every bit as much as I ever have. And just like I give Phil Spector a lot of credit for something like The Long and Winding Road, which I know is so controversial among a lot of Beatle fans. Part of the reason why that single was so successful was because of the production behind it. And part of the reason why Cloud Nine was so successful was because Jeff Lynne was involved with it. I think if Cloud Nine, even with the same songs that I love on there, sounded more like Gontrapo or Somewhere in England, it probably wouldn't have sold as well.
Yeah,
I really do. Songs are more important to me than the production, but in this case, the production really did help.
I mean, the songs are there, but as you say, there's that real oomph, and George needed that. He needed that shot in the arm, I think.
I love this picture.
Yeah,
and a lot of help from his friends too.
There you go.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's finally get started with this impossible task, because it depends. Some albums for me are easier, some are harder. This is a hard one because I do like every song on the album different degrees. So there are 11 tracks here. And I can tell you from doing this, I do on my show lately, Fab Gab, where I've been ranking Beatles albums, that with two of us, it can take sometimes like 75 minutes or something. So let's see how we can do with four of us. We can move it along. We're going to start. We're going to go from 11, which is would be our least favorite or worst if it applies to you, to our favorite, most favorite, what we feel we like the best. All right. So we're going to start with number 11, and to lead us off, I'm going to go to you, Tom. Start with you. What did you pick as your least song on this album?
Okay. Well, I love 10 of the 11 tracks on this album, and the one song that I just don't really care for that much ever since I've owned this album is unfortunately Breath Away from Heaven. I think just listening to the rest of the song, I had this album on CD first, so you got what was it, 9 tracks before this, and I loved the flow of this album. And then when it gets to number 10 and Breath Away to Heaven, I just felt like it just kind of just flattened out the feel of the album for me. I'm not saying that it's a terrible song or anything. I'm just saying that to me, it just didn't, it's just not up to par with the rest of the songs on this album.
Okay, gotcha. And if anybody wants to try, well, I guess when we get to the titles themselves, you can say what you think of it, because otherwise it might be a little too long if we take everyone and analyze every opinion. Okay, Tom. All right, so now we'll go to Kit. What do you have for bringing up the rear at number 11 here?
Okay, number 11, one of the ballads that just never really registered with me was Just for Today. I just thought it was a little dreary in a way. I mean, just in the arrangement, and I just felt like it just didn't go anywhere. And again, hard to say is that the lesser track on this album is, it's not a bad track, but I just felt like it just, as I said, it just didn't go anywhere. For me, it just didn't have any real melody. It just was a little dreary.
Okay, gotcha. Ken, what's number 11 choice for you?
I just want to make sure that I say that I love every song on this album. So this is a least favorite.
Right.
I don't hate any song here on this record, but I will also go with Just for Today. And I really love the melody. I love the spiritual feel of it, the gospel feel. And in many ways, when a song is slow, but even, it brings it, it makes it even stronger. It really articulates, the power of the message of the song. And I believe George said that he got the idea from a pamphlet I think a friend had from an AA meeting. And so, yeah, but wherever you get it, whatever inspires you to write the song, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
But it's still a beautiful melody, great slide guitar work. I love it. I just love it the least. That's all.
I completely understand what you're saying, and you too, Kit, because my number 11 choice is also Just for Today. I think it's got a great message in it, not to worry so much about, take a break from your problems today. Don't be your own life's problem. Sometimes we make our own problems. I think it has a lot to say. I love what it has to say, but I mean, in the context of the other songs, that have to be my least favorite. And I also like every song on here, as I said. So that's why I went with it for number 11, but the slow part of it really more than anything. Hey, look, I love slow songs. No, it's not just because it's slow. Some of my favorites are slow songs, but I think when I'm listening to the album at that point, it just kind of stops a little bit. Love the song, what it says, but it is a little of a down point of the album. So, all right, so we did that one easily enough. Let's now go to, usually I would say the top 10 with only 11 songs here. So for number 10, I'm going to start this time with Ken Michaels. For number 10, Ken, what did you manage to come up with?
Well, again, I love this song too. And I'm going to go with Breath Away from Heaven. But the reason why I love this song is because whenever an artist does something that's different for him, I applaud them. And this has as you can expect, an Oriental feel to it. And I think it really works. I think it's well constructed. And, whenever an artist like George does something like this, I wish he would do a lot more of it. And you did have the title track to Shanghai Surprise, which you really can't count in this album anyway. It became a bonus track when it was reissued. But I wish George had done more in that style because I think it really worked well for him. I don't really care that it's slow. It works the way that he wrote this song. And, originally it was for the movie, and there was a different version that was in the movie.
Right.
But I think that, it's very well executed, this song, for what he was trying to achieve.
Okay, Ken, that was good. All right, now I'm going to go to Tom for number 10. What do you have, Tom, for?
Well, my 10 was your guys' 11, just for today. This, to me, is a Plastic Ono Band song from that first album. It says a lot. It's very powerful lyrically, I think, in that form. So that being said, I have to be I'm not necessarily always in the mood to listen to that kind of song. So for me, that's why it's kind of a little bit of a downer song in a way. I love the lyrics though. I love, if I could feel not sad and lonely, not be my own life's problems, if I could just try to live through the day, only not to deal with, life's problem. I mean, I think that stuff is great, but I am not down at all at this point in my life right now. So
you're gonna have trouble in a month or so.
Yeah, but I know, right? Yeah. But
me too.
Unfortunately, that's why this song for me is down the bottom of the barrel, unfortunately, because I'm in a great spot in my life right now, and I have to be in that kind of mood to listen to the song.
Good, well said. Yeah, I'm going to have the same issue with Plastic Ono Band when that comes out because I don't feel like that so much these days. But okay, thank you. So now we go over to Kit for number 10. Kit, what do you have?
Well, before I get to that, we have a question from Chris Dahl asking, does George play piano on Just for Today? I believe it was Gary Wright. I think Gary Wright played piano on that track. So just wanted to. I'm not sure, but I think so.
The thing about this album is it just gives the credits. It doesn't go credit by songs, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
So
exactly.
It's got Gary Wright and Elton John on piano. So seeing that, Elton John was probably just on When We Was Fab, I would guess that Gary Wright probably was piano for that.
So not sure, but I think so. Number 10, Breath Away from Heaven. I applaud George, as you were saying, Ken, for trying something different. And this is definitely different from the rest of the album. And of course, I understand the as you said, the Asian accents to this because of being from Shanghai Surprise. And the lyrics, I do appreciate the lyrics. I think they're really beautiful. But there's just something about the execution that just doesn't really blow me away. There's just something about it. I don't know. It's another kind of like Just for Today. I'm waiting for it to go somewhere, and it doesn't quite get there for me. But I applaud him, as you said, for trying something new. And really expanding the different genres.
Definitely challenged me on this song.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I ranked it above Just for Today, because I really applaud him for doing that and for trying something different. But I just felt like he didn't quite get there. But I really but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for the average person out there that doesn't know George's full catalog and might think that everything that George did sounds the same with all slide guitar and everything, they don't know how diverse his music really is.
Exactly.
And you should play Shanghai Surprise or Breath Away from Heaven and see what they think of that. And they'll probably be a little bit surprised, that he ventured into, that kind of genre.
Yep, that's true.
Oh, well, I got to give number 10, and I feel really it's tough to give this now because I almost wanted to switch two of them around now. I kind of did, but I'm going to, with my pen, I'm like, no, because if I do that, I'm going to get confused as to what order we go in. I have the order. It's a long story. So I have to keep them the way they were. And I put originally, and maybe I'll change it, Wreck of the Hesperus at number 10. I was almost going to put Breath there now. But anyway, Wreck of the Hesperus, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking of the song, it's good fun. And, he's very tongue-in-cheek, George. I like that about it. It's fun. It's a fun song. I don't know why. I mean, maybe I originally put it there because it's a little bit all over the place in a way, kind of thing. I don't know. It's just where it felt. But you change your mind all the time, and that's happened to me as I'm doing this and as we're talking. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I would have put Breath Away from Heaven there. Oh, I'm thinking, you mentioned it. That's what I put there. I don't know what it is. He's got some funny lines in the song. It's a good humor song. I enjoy it. I just thought it was always a little clunky. And that's maybe the one time where George's voice maybe is goes off, at parts. I don't want to imitate it. I won't do it.
Don't do it.
No, but I it's fun. That's what makes it fun. I really like it. But for me, I put it at number 10. I'll confess.
Robert Henry agrees with you, Joe.
Really? Oh,
wow.
Boy, I tell you, it's getting hot in here. All right. All right. So then we can go to number 9. Okay, let me cross this. I want to make sure I do this right. Number 9. And this time, for the 9th one, I'm going to start with you, Kit.
Okay.
What do you have for number 9?
Number 9. All right. I went with Someplace Else. It's a pretty song, and this was a tough call. This is from 9 on. This was really tough. I mean, I went through many drafts, and this was really, really tough. And it just kind of came down to, all right, which are the ones that have stuck with me over time, that I remember the most, that I quote, and as beautiful as this is, and it really is, it's a beautiful ballad, my favorite ballad on the album. It just hasn't stuck with me as much as the other, but as the others on the album. But I love his guitar on this. Beautiful guitar, beautiful, and love the lyrics. I mean, it's just a really genuine love song. It's just beautiful. But it just, as I said, it hasn't stuck with me like the other tracks I'm going to talk about. So as much as it pained me to do it,
I know
I had to put it at number 9.
Wasn't that another one that was in Shanghai Surprise?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he redid this song for the album as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So now we go to Ken for number 9. Ken.
Well, ironically, my number 9 song is Cloud 9.
Tricky.
Again, I love all the songs on this album. It's very, very tough. How do you decide? This is number 9. This is number 8. You really like number 8 so much more than number 9. You got to weigh everything. But Cloud 9 is a really great opening song. That's what I love most about it. It really, kicks the album in, especially right with that guitar playing. And, I love the whole sound of it. It doesn't have a middle 8 at all. It's just the same verses. I take a look at that very often, how much work is put into the actual composition. But I love it. It's a good song. It's just that I like the others more.
That's it. That's what it comes
great
down
guitar
to.
playing.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Great guitar playing in it. Okay, Tom, number 9 for you.
All right. Let's get controversial.
I know what it is.
The song put him back on the map, but I got my mind set on you just over the years. And Ken, I know you don't like the term, aged well or hasn't aged well, but just over the years, the excitement for, I know, right? Over the years, the excitement for this song has just taken a nosedive. I mean, it's very repetitive. However, a lot of songs in George's canon is very repetitive, you know, but it just doesn't, the song just doesn't excite me anymore like it used to. And it's the song, I mean, and that's not the arrangement or anything, because I think he approved on the original, I think, in my opinion, but it's just unfortunately it just hasn't done anything for me since probably, you know, last 20 years, you know, so I just don't like it as much as I used to. How about that?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, got you. And let's see, that's now for me to wind up number 9. That's where I put Breath Away from Heaven. Which you know, and one of the good things about going last sometimes is you already covered it, so it takes the load off me. Unless I have something different to offer. I love the Oriental sound of it. I think it's a beautiful song. That's about all I could say. But it just comes number 9 for me. That's, you know, I enjoy it, but that's where it fell. All right, so that was easy. Now we're up to number 8, and this time, Tom, you're up first. For number 8.
All right, take my time. I'll show you Cloud 9. I dig this one a lot. You know, tomorrow it might be a little higher on the list, but you know, he brings the horns out on this one. And, you know, and Ken, you know, he mentioned the guitar playing on this one is fantastic. I think it's a great opening album song. I think it opens the album great. And you know, I like the lyrics, you know, take my hope, maybe even share a joke. It, you know, if it feels good to be shown, you may make it on your own, and if you want to quit, that's fine. I like all the lyrics to this song. I mean, I think this is one of his strongest lyrical albums in his canon. I really enjoy, you know, a lot of whimsical stuff, like Joe has said before, a lot of humor, that George humor that we've talked about in the past. But yeah, I'm just, unfortunately, there's what, seven other songs I like a little bit more than this one.
Okay, crossing you off. Okay, now we got Kit next for number 8.
All right. Well, you know, this is interesting. When I first got this album, all those years ago,
I'm gonna have to get like a little bell and hit it every time, like we say a solo song or something.
We should, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Sound effect.
Ding.
Yeah.
Ding. You know, this was one of my favorites back in the 80s, and you know, listening to it now, it's you know, kind of gone down a bit, but I still like it, if that's what it takes. Particularly, you know, that sort of middle part before he goes into the chorus.
Right.
You know, I really, you know, I just think this has a lot of interesting parts to it. Great vocals from George. You know, this song takes some interesting twists and turns. You know, some good kind of pop rock. And as I said, back in the 80s, I would play this song to death. And you know, and now, as I said, I still like it a lot. But you know, there's some other songs on here that I just, you know, I like better, but it's still a great track to me. But had to rank it. You know, it's interesting as you grow older how your tastes change a bit, and but you know, it really is. But I still like it, you know, a great deal. It's you know, it's some good pop. You can really, you know, hear Jeff Lynne's influence on this as well in the production, which is fine. Which in this case was good. But just always thought this was an underrated track.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, Ken, you're up for number 8.
Number 8 for me is When We Was Fab.
Oh
no!
I love the song. I love it. You know, I have no complaints to make about it. It's done extremely well. You know, very nostalgic look. I love the video for it, especially. You know, it's hysterical when Ringo's carrying the keyboards on one side and he comes back on the other. It's one of my favorite, you know, parts of that video. I love the whole sound of it, the production of it, even using references to 60s songs like Strangers in the Night and You Really Got a Hold on Me.
Good point. Yep.
You know, I love all that stuff about it. It's just that, you know, I love the other songs more.
Yep.
Again, there's no real criticism here. It's very tough.
No, which is what it comes down to. You know, that's why with this particular album, nothing really to criticize, I don't think, for the most part. All right, so that's your number 8. Mine is Cloud 9, the title track. I like the guitar playing in it very much. I think Eric Clapton plays on there a lot.
He does play on it. I think it's a duel between George and Eric.
Right.
It definitely is on That's What It Takes.
Right.
The two of them trade guitar lines at the end.
Right.
It works great as an opening track, but it's funny. I enjoy it, but there's something about it that I'm surprised it even ranks as high as it does. I was almost going to rank it lower. Great as an opener to set the mood for the album. But if it was a song anywhere else in the album, I don't think it would work as well. It works well as an opener for me, and then kind of peters out. It's like, all right, let's get on with it. We made Cloud 9, we get it. Let's go on with the rest of the album. But I loved mostly the guitar work that I like on it the best. So that's my number 8, which is now going to bring us to number 7. And for this one, we're going to start with Ken Michaels at number 7.
What?
Oh, dang, he said this one. I didn't because that's a...
I'm like,
and we didn't pick up on it.
And before we go on, a couple of reactions, Ken, to your choice. From Richard Kotwicka saying, wow, hearing that from Ken makes me wish I was someplace else. And from Hudson Rainey, Ken, you are in some cockamamie business. Ding.
Yes, I am.
Well, I gotta tell you though, that's very impressive. To me, when I hear it, that's that low for Ken, but that's great.
So I'm sorry.
I want us to be a little bit different. We've been pretty close so far with
a
little bit.
Just for today, a breath away from heaven being at the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. So where were we at?
7.
7. I'm going to give to Someplace Else, and I really do love all of George's ballads, and this one is also strong as far as I'm concerned, and his guitar work is absolutely impeccable on here, and his voice is great. We did say that earlier. That's another thing I love about this album, and I remember George talking about his voice when this album came out, saying that he just he doesn't worry about his voice. He was a little bit more paranoid in the past about his vocals, and so he was much more comfortable, I think, at this time in this stage of his life. And through so many songs, I think his voice sounds phenomenal, and I think it sounds really great in Someplace Else.
Yeah, great voice on this album, as I said earlier. And I remember another quote in one of the interviews. Somebody said, though, it's such a good album, and it sounds so good on it. And he said, well, I think absence makes the heart grow fonder. He says, because he's been gone for a while. And it's and I'm like, no, it's a good album, George. It's a good album, not just that you haven't had a full album in a while. So anyway, okay, thank you very much there, Ken. Now we're going to move to Tom at number 7 here. We're going to find out what you got here.
Okay, the closer I get into that open door, I've got to be sure if that's what it takes. I adore the chorus of this song. I love it. The guitar work, Ken, like you said, I mean, it's just really solid guitar work on this track and throughout the whole stinking album. It's just, and that's in a good way. I say that in a good, and I'm saying that in a positive way, because I love it so much. But yeah, I love the slide guitar, work on this one. I love the lyrics, specifically the chorus. So the reason why this song is so high up for me is on the strength of the chorus alone. I really dig it. Really dig it. And like you, Kit, I played the hell out of this song in the 80s.
Yeah, that song was one of the most impressive songs to me. And it's really that's the second song. So it's the first proper song. I mean, right? Yeah. It's the second song after
second song on the album.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you really get into the meat of the album with that.
Right.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll save that for later. Okay, so Kit, you're up for number 7.
All right, number 7 is Wreck of the Hesperus. What a fun song this is. You've got Eric Clapton and Elton John, I believe, appear on this.
He's on that one.
Yeah, right. And but of course, the star of the show, the lyrics. Boy, does George have some fun.
Yes.
I'm not the Wreck of the Hesperus, feel more like the Wall of China, getting as old as Methuselah, feel as tall as the Eiffel Tower. And I love this one. I'm not a power of attorney, but I can rock as good as Gibraltar. I mean, just wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful stuff. I mean,
I'm switching my pick. That's it. It's going higher.
But I mean, really, it's I mean, the backing track, I mean, as I said, with Clapton, Elton John, it is wonderful. But this is George at his lyrical best in terms of his humor. I mean, he is just having such fun on this track, and he gets in some little digs at his critics on this too, as we talked about, but mostly it's just a lot of fun. Boy, this just was another case of he's back. He is back. So yes. That's my number 7.
Great. My number 7. At least Tom said it first, so I didn't have to say it earlier. That's where I got my mind set on you, largely for the same reasons as Tom. Well, first of all, it's a cover. Doesn't mean anything. And I always have to say, covers. I love covers. And when I did a couple of mine, I put the Beatles ones. I put cover songs near the top. So it doesn't mean anything. But I'm looking for excuses to put this. Got my mind set on you here. But it's mostly the fatigue factor. I mean, I'm glad that's a song that I seem to hear. I hear that song a lot. If you're going to hear a George song, a lot of times that's if I'm in a supermarket or a restaurant or something, I hear that a lot. I'm glad, I think people still like it. Yeah. Newbies, I think they really can gravitate to that song. I've heard the original since. I didn't know it was, I never heard the original at the time. And then I played the original. I prefer George's version. I think he improved it. And I'm so glad he got a big hit with it, but just a little tired of it, enough to, not put it all the way near the bottom, but it fell around that point for me, number 7. Got my mind set on you.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see now. All right. So now we go to number 6. And to start us off, we have Kid O'Toole.
Okay, boy, this was a tough call. Oh, what the hell? All these are tough calls. Let's just say it. Fish on the Sand. This almost made the top 5. But I kind of had made my top 5 already. So this was close, but great melody, just so catchy. I mean, this is just one of those songs that has stuck with me. I mean, I just, I just can hum the melody. It's just, and clever lyrics too. Yet another case of George. I mean, not so much of a man like a fish on the sand. I mean, who would come up with that? It's just, it's clever, it's catchy, it's memorable. It's just a great song. So as I said, much as it killed me to not have it be quite top 5, I had to do it, but it's very, very close.
All right.
Okay.
Now we got number 6 for Ken. What do you have, Ken?
Okay, I'm going to go with Wreck of the Hesperus. And I love that song for all the reasons you guys gave. I do love those lyrics. It's he not only can make fun of the world, but he makes fun of himself too. Right. There's one line towards the end, getting old is my mother, but I tell you, I got some company. I like when you can make fun of yourself, and it just shows the great sense of humor that he had. And it's a really funky song. Between that and the lead guitar work, it really works. I mean, if George had ever toured, beyond the tour of Japan, that would have been a smoking song. Live, Wreck of the Hesperus. Definitely. That would have worked really well.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I had to put that one there.
Okay. Tom, it's your turn at number 6.
All right. Number 6, kind of feel bad for putting this one here because it's a great pop, upbeat pop ballad, and great third single. and this is Love. I love the video. I like the playing on this one as well. I love his voice on this song. But yeah, I mean the other ones are just etched it out a little bit, but the spectacular guitar playing on this one, the video really does the song justice. I mean, you really, I mean, I love the get together, the family, togetherness, and whether it's band and family members, it's really a good feeling song that, it's a good summer song, really. You know what I mean? It's, outside barbecuing, with family, you know what I mean? And it's just got that vibe, that upbeat, happy vibe. And, maybe it should have been a little higher on my list, but that's where I got
happening.
it. Yeah, I know, right?
Like that, right?
Yeah.
All righty. So for number 6, I went with Someplace Else. That's where that fell. Beautiful song, softer, ballady. But I like another one, which is always similar to me. I like another one that's got a soft, ballady song better than that. So the other one got higher, which we'll get to at some point. It's a why can't you say everybody's covered these to some point? Nothing to say about it, just where it falls. And I'm trying to move. Since I'm trying to move along a little bit, I'm saying as little as
top
possible.
5. It's getting serious now. Yeah, it's on now.
That's what it gets fun. The top 5.
Right.
So we're going to start with Tom Hunyadi this time for number 5.
Number 5, here we go. You know I need you. You know I love you. If I can't be with you, I'm not so much of a man. I'm like a fish on the sand. I love it. Love the lyrics, everything on this song. I love the playing, everything. I like kind of. There's a little bit of a George or a Jeff Lynne production on this one a little bit, and it works for me. And I think this is just another. I think it's another feel good song. It's just uplifting. I love that this album is mostly upbeat. A lot of really guitar driven upbeat songs on this one, and I think that's why I love this album so much, and this song is no exception. So this is my number 5. I love it every time.
Good one. All right, Kit, you're up for number 5.
I picked Got My Mind Set on You because while I totally get the overplayed angle, because I admit I'm a little tired of it myself. It's a very important song in George Harrison's career. I mean, no question. It was his comeback song, introduced a whole new generation to him. First number one single in many years. It's a big song, and so while I agree that I'm a little tired of it, I decided to kind of split the difference, and I put it in the middle. And
that's what happens. You still managed to get in the top 5, but it's number 5.
Yeah, exactly. So I decided to do that. But it's great. I mean, it's catchy. I absolutely see why it was a hit.
It really is good. All right, Ken, that leaves you for number 5.
Okay, I will echo Kit's words there. And Got My Mind Set on You is my number 5 choice. I will say that while when it comes to the solo Beatles catalog in general, I tend to, in most cases, really love a lot of the album cuts more than the singles. But in George's case, I never get tired of any of his singles. And I listen to the radio probably more than all of us. And I'm still thrilled when a radio station will play Got My Mind Set on You, because there isn't enough representation of the solo Beatles in the 80s. And I'm glad to see that, yes, it was number 1 back then. Doesn't mean it still has to get airplay now. And it still does. And I still hear it in supermarkets every now and then. And I'm very happy to hear it. I think it was a really great arrangement to the song. George's vocals are fantastic. I love how the drums kick in. Jim Keltner had a lot to do with that drum pattern, which really was part of the arrangement of why that song worked. And I mean, I haven't gotten tired of it. I still love it, same as I always have.
And it does keep George fresh in people's minds. And I like how you said 80s, also 80s solo Beatles track from the 80s. All right, 5 for me was Fish on the Sand. That was when I first got the album in 1987. That was my favorite track. I remember. I just loved that right away. Just George, a little more upbeat, a little more rocking slightly. I thought it was just a fun song, and that was a favorite of mine. Now it's gone down a little bit, still in the top 5, and there it was. Top 5. All right. Now we're going. Any comments? I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you see anything you want, feel free at any time.
Let's see. I think Susan. Let's see. Susan Gagnon said, "I'll always love Got My Mind Set on You." I remember my 4-year-old niece, who now has a 4-year-old of her own, watching the all the moving parts in the video on MTV, and it puts a smile on my face again. Yeah, I mean, it does. It has great memories. Timothy Allen's a number 5 for him, Wreck of the Hesperus, although these days I feel like I am. Yeah, tell me about it.
Sure.
George used to say about Wreck of the Hesperus that he would come home from school and he would be all messy and his hair would be disheveled, and his mother would say to him, "Oh, look at you! You look like the Wreck of the Hesperus." So I'm sure that was a big reason why he wrote a song with that title.
Yep. And Tom Brennan agrees. Number 5, Fish on the Sand. So that was a tough call. It really was for me. It's a great song.
So now we're going to go to Ken for number 4. You're first, Ken.
My number 4 song is This Is Love. This Is Love is an absolutely perfect pop song. Everything about it is wonderful. The melody's great. George's vocals are great, especially towards the end when he's hitting a high note. I love the production on it. It should have been, I really wish that This Is Love had been the second single on the album, more so than When It Was Fab. I mean, we all know Got My Mind Set on You went to number 1. When It Was Fab went to number 23. After that, it's kind of hard when you've had momentum in the very beginning for the third single to do well. And that's part of why This Is Love didn't do very well. But I think This Is Love would have done better as a single than When It Was Fab. Just far more catchy. And it's probably the most Beatles-y song. Well, actually, When It Was Fab has to be.
It was Fab.
But along with that, it's just I could hear the Beatles singing the harmonies on that,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good choice for a single. I could see it being the second single. Yeah, definitely. All right, so Tom, you're up for number 4.
There's another line in the Wreck of the Hesperus that also kind of pokes fun at George too that I just love. I love this whole song lyrically is, I think, some of his best written lyrics. But been plucked, or ain't no more no spring chicken, been plucked but I'm still kicking.
Yeah.
This again just shows the humor of George and the sense of humor of George. And I mean, the Wreck of the Hesperus, I play a lot. If I'm playing this album, I look forward to hearing this song every time, and it's always been a standout for me. Just again, lyrically, I just excited me. Brainless writers, gossip nonsense to other heads as dense as they is. There's just a lot of fun, in this song, and again, that's just the theme of this album to me is fun for the most of it, and this album just this song thing has the that written all over it for me. So I got Wreck of the Hesperus number 4. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. I mean, geez, when I said well, it was with me, it must have been like cringy. But I mean, the more I hear you guys talk about it, the more I'm like, oh no, that wasn't fair. That should have been a lot higher, Let's be chicken. I love the way
sometimes when you hear somebody's story about what a song means to them, you kind of think about it in their eyes, or look at it, with their eyes. Maybe you haven't come up with a different perspective on the song.
Well said. Okay, where are we at? Kit, number 4.
Well, I guess I'm going to be throwing a curveball and giving some love to a song that hasn't gotten a lot yet. Cloud 9. I love Cloud 9. I love that song. From the moment I heard it, first of all, as you said, Ken, great album opener. First of all, I mean, that is a perfect album opener. So it works on that level. But I just love it in general. It's got this really great kind of blues element to it.
Sure.
Got those horns.
Yep.
Those kind of that kind of snaky sounding horns. And
The horns that we like.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We love horns, and then we've got and then George really goes,
Just remember the particular word.
Don't say the word.
I hates it, so I'm not going to do
like
it.
Horns. We like horns.
We like horns. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. And it doesn't quite reach to that level, but anyway. And also I like how George uses his voice on this, that it's he goes way deeper than he normally does. So it just really a different kind of song for him. Yeah, I mean, it goes really, and so I like this bluesy kind of mood he's going for. As I said, really like the arrangements with the horns and the guitars. I love it. I've always liked this song, and I think not only does it work as an album opener, I think it works as a song itself. I've just always enjoyed it.
See, you convinced me. I'm enjoying hearing everybody's descriptions and what they feel. It really makes you think about it a little differently in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right, very good. All right, so now I'm lost. Number
3.
Help me. This is where I get lost.
Oh, what's your choice? Did you?
Oh, yeah, you got 4.
Oh, 4. All right, This Is Love. Number 4. I said it already. A great choice for a single. I wonder how it would have done as the first single. I mean, we already know "Got My Mind Set on You" was a tremendous hit, so you can't argue with that. But as much as I like "When We Was Fab" for the Beatles connection and everything, I think that would have been a good choice. Love the video. Just careful, George. Don't stand too close to that water there with splashing against the rock. I keep feeling like he's going to get washed away. I love that of that too. It's such
that's a great effect. Great effect in that video. Because you think those waves are going to crash on top of them.
I know.
They look pretty intense.
Top notch.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. The music, the guitar playing, White George on there, the slide sound. It's just a great pop song. Terrific. So that's my number 4.
I love the keyboard work in that song. When you have that guitar of da 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 da, and then you hear that keyboard.
Trickling sound.
It's so
wonderful,
so effective. Yeah,
must be a teardrop sound.
And that's like I think that's like the Jeff Lynne production. I don't think George would have done that if not for Jeff Lynne.
Good point.
He added so much production wise.
Yeah.
Now we're down to the top 3.
Top 3.
Oh boy.
So let's go to Kit first for number 3.
Okay. Well, shout out to Ed Chen, who's watching right now, our buddy Ed Chen. When We Was Fab is my number 3. And yes, it's somebody said earlier in the comments that it's very, and of course it's very Beatle-y, yes, but it's just very clever, and kudos to Jeff Lynne on the production. I mean, the production of this, you can listen to this over and over and hear something different. I mean, the different Easter eggs that you hear, the references to different Beatles things, and then of course at the end with the the sitar. I mean, I think it's first of all a production tour de force. I mean, I really do. Then there's of course the lyrics, which are just so clever. He's having some fun with his Beatles past, and there are some very clever references to that, and he, as I said, he has some fun with that. Voice sounds great as always. I mean, as he does with the rest of this album, and the video, of course, is a lot of fun with good old Ringo making a cameo, but I just think this was just one of those songs that you have to listen to on headphones to really appreciate it, to listen to everything that's going on. And I just feel like, kind of a nod to the Beatle fans, to see what all the different references we can catch. And as I said, George is great, but kudos to Jeff Lynne on this one as well.
Okay. Remember when the video came out and a lot of people were questioning, is Paul there?
The walrus?
In the walrus outfit,
right.
Yeah.
Then he confused things more with that, because he did the Rockline show in '88, and somebody asked me, he said, well, here's a clue for you all. The walrus was Paul. He says, and it really is not, but he said that anyway. People thought, I even thought, well, it is. But it's not, but he did say that on the Rockline show.
Yeah.
That was a fun show.
Oh, that was great. I remember that.
88. I dialed all night, tried to get through.
I tried to too. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. Nothing.
Didn't happen.
Nope.
All right. So, Ken, you're next for number 3.
Number 3. God, these are all great songs.
Mm-hmm.
Devil's Radio.
Oh.
Devil's Radio is such a great rock song, and it takes me back to when I was on WDHA in New Jersey, and we were playing this album like crazy. And the one rock song that got the most airplay was definitely Devil's Radio.
Great.
It really fits a rock format. It's got Eric Clapton on there doing lead guitar work.
Yep.
Just very edgy, talking about gossip, the Devil's Radio, and I just love it. It's a killer song. And I think probably, if I had my way, after This Is Love is the second single, I probably would have made Devil's Radio the third single.
Wow.
I still think that would have worked, getting airplay on rock stations.
Right.
And it still had the commercial appeal to probably work on hit radio at the time. So, no, but I love it. Killer song.
No argument for me. All right, Tom.
You hear people talk about albums or songs, that get them through tough times, or if they're, down or whatever. And, Someplace Else has been that song for me, throughout, my lifetime. And yeah, it's got that Plastic Ono Plastic Ono band feel to it too. It's very, personal, kind of lyrics, just like Just for Today is a little bit too. I mean, so in a way, for me, I gotta be in a mood to listen to this song sometimes too. But because of my relationship with this song, I just couldn't do that to this song, because of how much the song has meant to me over the years. And for a while you could comfort me and hold me for some time. I need you now to be beside me while all my world is so untidy. Just stuff like that. Just has really meant a lot to me, over the years. And, I put it up there with one of his top 3 best ballads of all time. And yeah, it's just very personal to me. And it'll always be one of my favorite George Harrison songs of all time.
So much of George's stuff is highly personal.
Yeah.
And he is one of the greatest ballad writers ever. Love songs.
I agree. I
Yep.
agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, for me, number 3, I finally had to put down That's What It Takes, which
Great.
I really
Great
was, I love that song so much, especially when I first heard the album, just the way it comes in from the beginning all the way to the end. I don't know, I love the way George sings it, the way it changes, if that's what it takes, like, got to be strong, that whole part.
Yep.
And everything. And the guitar work is just chilling to me. I just love the way it's just sweet to the way it sounds. Always been a favorite, and that's one it didn't fall. I mean, sometimes, some of the others maybe go a little lower. That one stayed kind of high there for me. So I put That's What It Takes at number 3.
Love it.
And still as fresh to me as it was in '87 in a lot of ways. All right, so now we're down to 2.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to start with Tom first for number 2.
Oh, wow. My turn already. When it was Fab, as getting into the Beatles when I did, it was just almost perfect timing. It was just the song, the video was just, I mean, it just meant so much to me as a newbie in the Beatles world to see George embrace the past like that, right as I'm getting into that world. You talked about, lyrics are great, and you kind of get more of it as you get older, you know what I mean? And I love that he added the sitar at the end. That really works for me, because I was, again, getting into that music and getting introduced to the sitar from the Beatles records. And so, and the video, seeing Ringo there, I mean, I got so much. I remember seeing Take It Away for the first time, and I think I was like 10. And, as much as I loved the video, it didn't really have that feeling to it, because I was being told, okay, well, those two were in the Beatles, but then now being a Beatle fan and seeing two of them in the same video just really impacted me at that point in time. And this song has always been, one of the top songs for me. But you would figure that, okay, you kind of get worn out on the Beatles a little bit, so it would drop. I tell you what, after listening to this album a couple more times over this last week, this album, I love it even more today.
Very good, Tom. Okay, Kit, you're up for number 2.
Okay, number 2, Devil's Radio. This is just, as you were saying, Ken, love it. Lyrics are just on point. The guitar, as you said, from I think Eric Clapton. I think Elton John is on the piano, and there's some great pounding piano. I'm not 100% sure. And just some biting lyrics. Railing against gossip and rumor, right. And I mean, it's wonderful. And as you said, also just a great straightforward rocker. Should have been a single. And this was just one of those songs that from the moment I heard it, back in the 80s, it was just like instant, like, this is just great. And his voice was great, just strong. This is just one of those tracks that has just stuck with me all this time, and he tells the truth.
Yes, he does.
Okay. Good. All right. Ken, number 2 for you.
Okay. Number 2 is That's What It Takes. That song, we were just talking about Jeff Lynne's production, that moment in This Is Love where you hear that like cascading sound. Starts that way, but That's What It Takes. I love the whole melody of it. It's such a full, complete song. And actually the part where, I think it was you, Kit, there was a moment in the song that you weren't crazy about. Mm-hmm. It's in the bridge and it leads into the chorus. Mm-hmm. If we're going to be in this world together, that part.
Yeah.
That was Gary Wright's part.
Yeah, I like that part.
I like it a lot. So I love the slide guitar work in it. It's just the mood of the song and George's voice and how it starts the way it does. And now it begins to shine. It's everything about that song is wonderful. It's, I hate to sound repetitious, but it's another perfect recording here on this song. And it flows so well coming out of Cloud 9. I think you said, Joe, that this is like the first complete song or proper song. It's kind of cutting down Cloud 9, but I know what you're saying. It's more of a complete song to me, I just absolutely adore That's What It Takes.
And I gotta say, I love the way even those few words where he sings, don't let it stop, never fade away. I just love that, the way he sings that part.
The way he phrases it.
He phrases it. It's beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I one time during this, I had that number 2. And I changed it as the time went on, but
what a great chorus that is.
That's what it takes. And that's gotta be strong.
And his voice is high up there, and great vocals.
Sings it so well too. Yeah, his voice is right on the money. And a lot of times I picked on George's voice in the past. I mean, I still, even at times when I don't think his voice is so great, sometimes I add a charm or a characteristic to it anyway.
Yeah.
Some of the others, but sometimes I pick on it, whether it's on extra texture or some other kind of sound. But the voice on there is so strong.
And also, I mentioned it before, but towards the end, both George and Eric are sharing lead guitar parts, and it's really fun to hear that. Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm going to pick my number 2, but this really these days, it was so tough because I could have flopped these. And these days, this one is more like maybe more number 2. I wasn't sure, but I finally gave in and put Devil's Radio at number 2. All the things that we said, I love how like nasty it is, and he's telling it like it is. He's sick of all the BS and the gossip. I mean, he's been, talking like that for a long time in interviews, talking about, the newspapers and the magazines and all this garbage. They say, I do not have a toilet that plays Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I have an interview where he says that's another rumor that was spread up. All this, he's always vocal. He was always vocal about that kind of stuff. And it's also an opener for the vinyl side 2 opener. It's a good side opener too. Sometimes I'm tuned into that, and it rocks. It's a rocker from George. I'm always very grateful when we have a harder, stronger edged rock song for George, because it always feels like we don't get as many. So true. I love that song, and it could have been number 1, but it fell at 2. This time. So that leaves us with our number 1s, folks.
Oh boy, and, drum roll.
I have 10 listed first for this, though. So Ken, you're first.
Okay. This will probably be a shocker for everybody, but my favorite song on the album, I didn't even have to think about. It's Fish on the Sand.
Great.
I really do love it. I think, I always say that that's what it takes, and Fish on the Sand is the greatest 1-2 punch. 2 songs back to back on a George Harrison album.
Good points.
I can't listen to That's What It Takes unless Fish on the Sand is playing next. I will not listen to it unless it's on every little thing on my show. But when I'm at home, Fish on the Sand has got a great. When I eat at home.
Ding ding.
Okay. Fish on the Sand has that great, guitar riff, down, 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 and it's got a country and western feel to it. It's another perfect 3-minute song that could have made a good single as far as I'm concerned. So damn catchy. And again, George's vocals are wonderful in it. And, I can listen to that song every day and never get tired of it. I don't know what it is about Fish on the Sand. I just keep playing it over and over again. And I wish he did do that song in the beginning of the Live in Japan tour. There's 1 or 2 shows he played it. Maybe it didn't work out. Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow.
And, if he ever continued with that tour, which we all wished he could have done in the States.
Absolutely.
I would have loved to have heard that.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of songs on Cloud 9 that really work well live, I think. And, but Fish on the Sand is one of my favorite of all of his solo songs.
Ken, it's interesting that you should be talking about this, because this is the truth. During this show, I was thinking if I was going to mention it or not. I wasn't following too closely to know that was going to be your number 1 in the end. And the truth is, when I used to listen to you, some of the first shows I remember WDHA were, when you were in Jersey, listening to those with the Cloud 9 era. And I remember, I don't know why, every time I think to those days, I remember Fish on the Sand you played, and for some reason, that always stuck in my mind, that song. We're relating to you, and I don't know if that was why. Maybe you were making mention even then.
Probably my choice. But I got a lot of requests for songs from Cloud 9 when I was at WDHA, as you can imagine. And as we said, this was his big comeback album, and it was reflected in radio airplay at the time, not just on Top 40 radio, but on rock radio. And they did go beyond Devil's Radio. We used to play on WDHA Wreck of Hesperus. I remember that getting airplay. Much less of This Is Love. I think that might have been a little too poppy for our station, for a rock station. But Fish on the Sand, I think, got some airplay too. And Cloud 9 did. So, but Fish on the Sand definitely.
That's my memory. I remember that song for some reason from those days. Okay, so Tom, you're up for number 1 song.
Okay. Well, let me say, I love all genres of music. I really like a lot of genres of music, but at my heart, I'm a rock and roller. I love rock and roll. I love hard rock. I love heavy metal. I love thrash metal. I just love rock and roll. I love guitars, drums, bass, and I love a great vocalist, rock and roll vocalist. This was my first George Harrison record, solo record, and it rocked. It rocked. Looking back and getting other albums, being kind of a little disappointed that we didn't get a lot more rockers like Devil's Radio. And what a shame that, I wouldn't say I love those albums. I love Extra Texture. I love Dark Horse. I like all those albums for different reasons. But again, being a rock and roller, I really wish we would have got more songs, heavier songs like Devil's Radio. And it's always been my favorite song on the album. You guys, I'm not going to go. I mean, you guys already talked about it lyrically and how, it's kind of like a fist to the face, attitude to these, gossipers and stuff like
and
that.
The way he does we never said that. I love the gossip.
Yeah. Gossip. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, and I got that when I first heard this song and, and the Clapton and, playing throughout this whole song is a gift to the song. But I'm just in a way really disappointed that we didn't get a lot. We got some rockers from George. We got a lot of rockers, but we didn't get rockers. You know what I mean? Like rock, like real good heavy rockers, but I love Devil's Radio, always have. It's, like you, Ken, you knew what your number one was right away. I knew what my number one was going to be right away. And it's Devil's Radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about just for 1 second? What about Cheer Down?
Listen.
Oh, if that was on there, that would have been number one.
But are you gonna wait 2 more years for that
I'm
album?
just saying, in his entire career, there are some really good rockers.
There is, but it just didn't have that crunch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love the slide guitar. Don't get me wrong. There's some great slide rockers on this album too, but just like a straightforward rock and roll song, that's Devil's Radio. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Kit, you're next, Kit, number one.
Okay. Well, I'm going to echo one of our viewers here, Timothy Allen, who calls it the perfect pop record. This is love.
Excellent.
This has been, I'll tell you, this has grown on me. Yep, this has grown on me so much over the years. I come back to it again and again. It is just joyful. It just really, his vocals are just right on point. I mean, as we talked about, he gets into his upper register on this. Just some great, guitar on here in the instrumental. As we talked about the fluttering keyboards and in the middle. I mean, there are just so many wonderful touches to this, and the video is just the icing on the cake. I mean, it captures as I said, the joy of the
spirit,
and it just kind of, I think, also captures the spirit of the album. I mean, sure, we have like Devil's Radio, which is a little bit nastier and everything, but I think it was also just just the spirit of this album of again his creative rejuvenation. You just get that sense throughout this entire album that he's kind of regained his creative mojo and that not quite the bitterness that he felt about the business in the early 80s. So I just think it's just such a really well constructed song, and it just makes you smile. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, not that I want him to return to having a Beatles sound, but that really is a song where I can hear John and Paul harmonizing on the chorus. This is love, 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 love.
Yeah, true.
And the comma, comma.
They could have done it.
I could hear it.
Well, one thing that I like here is very interesting, is that we all have a different number one. Right? My favorite, again, I could have switched it with Devil's Radio these days, but I went for When We Was Fab. I don't know. You would think I'd get tired of this one. This is another one that you hear it a lot. It's the Beatle thing. You know, I'm not one of those guys, anyone who follows me in the solo careers, that think, oh, well, this is the Beatles track. That's why I like it, because it's the Beatles. You know, I don't do that. I try to do the opposite, actually. But this one, I just love the charm of that, the good nature of George going back to it, embracing that period, making it sound like I Am the Walrus. Touches in there, which I don't think anybody mentioned yet, like Magical Mystery Tour, even the Take You Away part in there. But yet there's still sarcasm. You wonder if he's really like celebrating those days or not too fond of them in a way at the same time. He's talking about, you know, income tax again, keep griping about back when income tax was all we had, and casualties at dawn and all this kind of stuff. And I really wonder. But but it is a nostalgic track. Makes me feel good. It feels like remembering those days of, you know, the Beatles, especially summer love type of vibe to it, that era. The video, sometimes you don't want a video to present a song for you. That was one of the big concerns. I remember when MTV was first starting, people were saying it's going to limit a song visually, and sometimes certain songs you still see the damn video, you know. And I see that every time, but it helps in this case. I'm very happy with it, you know. And you see Elton John walking by even in there, and Ringo with the, like you said, the piano or whatnot, going in one side, going back around the other side, and George, you know, in the Sergeant Pepper suit for a second. And I remember an interview with him too, where it's very fast that they flash it in the interview. Somebody mentioned it. He goes, "Well, it's a little tight around the middle at present." He says, putting on a little. So that's why it was like kind of a quick flash, you know. And I just love it. The sitar at the end, and even the video. George, goes into that kind of a meditation position, or doesn't he? Like he meditates, I think, if I remember, or maybe during the middle. I don't know, but he does that
at the end.
It's just a great song all around, and a great loving memory, nostalgic piece, and makes me feel good, warm and fuzzy. So there you go. That's number one, but it could have been some others number one.
But it is great that the four of us had different number ones.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You don't always know how these things are going to turn out. So I don't know if unless there's any other comments you want to mention to it.
Well, and this is great. Nobody was completely disgusted by our choices or shocked.
Oh, okay.
Listen, I was talking about this earlier when I was live. Since everybody's here, once this episode gets uploaded on YouTube, please go back in the comments and put your rankings down as well, so we can see them.
Yeah.
And we can comment on them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you're watching this on the replay on Facebook, please leave the comments there, because we'd love to see your choices as well. Because there's so many that you've left your choices as well. And this was such a hard album to rank the tracks, because there's so many strong tracks on here that it was.
It's like when you do this with a Beatles album. If you love every song, how do you really do that? You know,
I'm currently finding out.
There's a lot of solo albums that are like that for me. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, so we can either begin by talking about ourselves or where to find us. What do you want to do first, Kit? Do you want to talk about us?
Okay, well, you can find us and share your thoughts about this and other episodes. You can email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. You can visit our website at talkmoretalk.com. You can visit us, of course, on our Facebook page, which you're on right now. And you can find us on Twitter at talkmoretalk. The number one. We love to hear your feedback. We love to hear your ideas. If there are topics that you would like us to cover, please feel free to send ideas. And of course, you can find us over on YouTube. And while you're there, please subscribe. We're almost to 1,000.
Almost to 1,000.
We can smell it. We can taste it. So please subscribe while you're there and spread the word to all your Beatles and solo loving friends.
Okay, now if we
go ahead.
if we talk about our projects and things, if we can do it pretty quickly, we can make it no more than 2-hour show.
Yes.
Let's see if we can do it.
Absolutely.
Those uploads, forget it, right?
Yes,
I need at least 15 minutes.
Yep, that's true.
It doesn't take me long. Yeah. So basically, my channel is on YouTube. It's me, Mr. Mayo, and I'm glad to say that I'm kind of doing a new show called Fab Gab, which is with my friend Matthew Street, who also has a channel, and sometimes Beatle Brad. I'm going to have other people on. I want to, that I'd like to get all of you on there at different times to do different shows. But we're not just going to do ranking. Right now we're doing rankings, which we got the inspiration from Tom's show, Two Legs, with the Paul albums he's doing. I figured we'll start with the Beatles albums, which we've been doing. We just did Help, the latest show. And we're going to do Rubber Soul next week. And we're going to try to go through all the solo albums. And we'll get to Cloud 9. It's like a year or 2 years from now, something like that. Who knows when it'll be. But it'll be fresh then. So that's me done. How about you, Kit?
Okay. Well, tomorrow, if you're listening to this or watching this now, dang, yeah. So that's March 9th. You can join me along with Ken Womack. We're going to be doing another Tuesday night record club through Monmouth University. We're going to be talking about the Police's album, Zenyatta Mondata. It's going to be a lot of fun. That will be at 7:30 p.m. That's Eastern time. I think I put the link on the Talk More Talk Facebook page. It's on my Facebook page as well. It's free to register. It'll be a lot of fun. So go over and register for that and join us. Also, just went up today in honor of International Women's Day. I took part in a panel discussion with many other women Beatles scholars, broadcasters, researchers, and we talked about, just the state of women in the field and where we'd like to see it go in the future, how to make it more inclusive, and many other topics. And that link is on my Facebook page as well. I'll put that up on our Talk More Talk page. We had a really great wide-ranging conversation. So if you want to check that out, it's on SoundCloud. And as Ken mentioned, this is Fandom in the Beatles. It is now up at Amazon. You can pre-order the paperback here. Do not order the hardback. It's over $100. So just skip that. It's an academic book, so they charge outrageous prices. Get the paperback or the Kindle. It is way more reasonable. And you'll be hearing more about that book in the near future when Ken and I can get our schedules together, and we'll come on the show and talk more about it. But we're really excited about it. We hope that you will check it out. So I think that's everything.
Okay, how about you, Tom?
All right, well, first I want to give a quick shout out to our friend Mark P, who's also got a YouTube channel. And I got to tell you what, he does ranking the tracks with his wife, which is a great spin on it because, she's listening to a lot of this stuff for the first time. So it's really cool to see or get her perspective on these songs. So check out Mark P's channel. They just did that with Ram. So it was really good and a lot of fun to listen to. So Two Legs. Yes, the world of Two Legs. We're just busy as always. A couple weeks ago, we did a show with Paul Saley, who talked about his upcoming book, Little Wing, the Jimmy McCullough story. We just recorded a show yesterday with a friend of the show, Tom Brennan, where we talked about McCartney bootlegs. We just dived into the world of bootlegs. What's on, what are some of the better ones, our history with bootlegs. So that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot because I've never been a big bootleg guy, but I'm slowly, gradually, listening to a lot of bootlegs more these days. So check that out. That will be this coming Saturday. Now this Wednesday on Ranking the Tracks, we're going back and ranking. Last week we did Flowers in the Dirt. This week we're doing all the leftover non-album tracks of the 80s. Songs like Spies Like Us, Once Upon a Long Ago, Check My Machine, Secret Friend, the stuff that weren't on albums. So I think it's like 24 tracks in all. So it's going to be another long, long ranking. So we're going to try to breeze through it as quickly as possible. So that'll be this Wednesday night, or I'm sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel. And speaking of YouTube, we just passed 500 subscribers. So thank you to everybody who's subscribed.
Hey.
Subscribe to us, and please, keep them coming. Please check it out. And we're having we're having a great time seeing everybody's rankings for these songs, comparing them all and seeing how different they're, like snowflakes, really. Everybody's rankings is different, and it's just a lot of fun, people going back and listening to all these songs that they haven't heard in decades, and just, hearing their reaction to these songs now. It's been a fun trip, and thank you all for joining us on this trip. So that's two legs as of right now.
Okay, well done. And you're last but not least, Ken, as always. Let's hear it.
Okay, I'll try to make this fast. My syndicated Beatles radio program, Every Little Thing, will have a new show next week in which I'll be doing a Beatles salute to Chuck Berry in there, and also part of my interview with Owen Lynn, who I interviewed recently because he wrote an article on why he thinks Walls and Bridges is John's best solo album. So he's on that show. Go to my website, kenmichaelsradio.com, look for the page for Every Little Thing, list all the radio stations and when they air them with links to their websites so you can stream them. Okay. Also, let's see, things we said today. Last week, we did a show on your Dream BBC album where I asked my panel there with Darren DeVivo and Alan Kozin to pick their 14 favorite songs from the BBC recordings of the Beatles. If it was the 60s, and we didn't know there was ever going to be any BBC collections coming out in 1994 and later on with On Air. If you were the head of the record company at EMI, what 14 songs would you pick for a Dream Beatles BBC show? And that show went out last week. Next week, we're going to be interviewing the authors of this new book, It's All in the Mind, which is all about...
Is that volume 2? Is that volume 2?
Volume 2.
Excellent. Yeah, I got volume 1.
Yeah, me too.
So, we got Bob Hieronymus and Laura Kortner. They're going to be guests on the show next week.
Excellent.
We're recording on Monday, and that should be out probably Wednesday after I'm done editing. So something there to look forward to. And the biggest thing of all is everything going on my YouTube channel. I just did 3 interviews with Gary Van Slyke of Elephant's Memory, covering everything from their period working with John and Yoko. I did an interview with David Bedford. We also interviewed David on Things We Said Today. This is his new book, The Country of Liverpool, all about country music, its influence on the city of Liverpool, as well as on the Beatles. He's a fantastic guest. So there's an interview with him on my YouTube channel. And I just started something kind of like, because you guys are doing the same thing.
I was meant to tell you, it's a great idea.
It's called my Number 9 Dream Show. And I'm going to do this once in a while with special guests. And actually, this was the result of our last show. When we were doing our 4x4, I was asking my wife, who was next door watching on the laptop, what do you think of the show? And she said she liked it, but why didn't you do anything for George Harrison? It was his birthday. So I started feeling guilty about it. So I figured on my YouTube.
Ding.
Okay. So on my YouTube channel, where I can do whatever I want, I decided to, well, it's the truth. Yep. I decided to do something for George. And so this idea came to me called Number 9 Dream, where I ask a guest to talk about one specific Beatle. And I have 3 different categories where in each one, they name their top 3 of something. So with George, it was top 3 George Beatle songs, top 3 George solo songs, and top 3 George solo albums. And I had Jeff Slate as my special guest, and you all know him. He's a great musician in the New York area, and he's done tributes to John and to George live, as well as Bowie and Tom Petty. Great journalist, rock journalist. He writes for Beatle Fan, NBC News, Rolling Stone, everybody. And he was a fantastic guest on that show, ran about an hour. He gave all of his answers. So whenever I do that in the future, it can be different Beatles, it could be different categories, but there'll always be 9 answers that I will get in the show. And I will be recording a show tomorrow with Sam Wiles of the Paul is Nothing podcast. He's going to do a Number 9 Dream show on Paul with me. So that'll be coming up this week. And I've got a few other guests lined up for interviews. And if you can, go to Ken Michaels Radio and subscribe to it. And by the way, if anyone's interested in hearing the interview that I did with Zach Nilsson, it's on my website, kenmichaelsradio.com. Go to interviews page 4. You'll also find my interview with Kifo, his brother, on the same page. Okay?
Right.
Very good.
Okay,
Excellent.
All right, everybody. So very quickly, I'll say thank you, everybody, for watching. And for Kid O'Toole, Tom Agnotti, and Ken Michaels, this is Joe Mayo saying that just for today, let's try not to deal with all life's problems.
Hear, hear.
Very good.
Hey,
Very
take
nice.
care, everyone.
See
Good
ya.
night.
Bye-bye.